Hey, welcome to part 2 of my HDR Lightroom versus Aurora. Doing the same 3 bracketed files. In part 1 I did Lightroom. If you have not seen part 1, I'll link it below. Go check that out first. If you just want to watch the Aurora version, that's fine. But in this video, I'm going to take those same 3 bracketed files and I'm going to put them into Aurora to get this photo. I'll show you it on the screen at the end. And that's it. Let's check it out.
All right, so here we go. We're in Lightroom. I've got the 3 original RAW files that I shot in the Cayman Islands selected. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to export those to Aurora HDR 2019 with Lightroom adjustments. Now the reason that I pre-process these files, you see it done both ways. You see some people pre-process and some people that don't pre-process. For example, Trey Ratcliffe, if you watch his videos of this, he usually just grabs the raw files or the JPEGs and throws them into Aurora. And I'm going to show you, well, I'll tell you why in a second, but why it doesn't matter so much. So first thing I do is I always align, even though I know they're aligned. Chromatic aberration reduction, I'm not going to do any ghost reduction, nothing was moving. But I liked pre-processing because I thought I was getting a little bit better look. I was a little bit happier with the way that it looked. But also, in Aurora 2018, they had a really great feature that they don't have here, and I'll show you where it's not. You used to be able to come up here. That looks pretty good right out the bat, but I'm going to show you real fast. You used to be able to come up here, and there was a fourth option where you could grab the original bracketed image. And what was awesome about that was that if you felt like part of the photo was getting away from you, or if the colors weren't right, something wasn't right, you could bring it in and blend it in. So kind of looking at the photo here. First thing I'm looking at, I think it looks pretty good. It definitely does a much better job tone mapping it than Lightroom does. So you have a much more sort of even exposure. The first thing I want to do is I feel like the rocks look a little bit too blue. There's a few ways to fix that. You can, increase the temperature, but I don't want to over warm the whole photo. And there's a few ways that you can address it without doing the whole photo. Obviously, you can just add a new layer, but I'm going to show you the way that I've been doing it. So I'm going to add another layer, and rather than add temperature, I'm going to come down here to my tone curve. I'm going to grab the blue channel. I'm just keeping an eye on the rocks. I'm just going to grab the curve. I'm just going to pull it down until I get the rocks looking a little bit more like I want them to, just a little bit less blue. And you can see the difference in the rocks. But that obviously warms the whole photo, and I kind of like the little bit bluer tones in the sky. So I'm just going to grab my brush. We'll leave it like that. Let's do it straight there. And I'm just going to paint on these rocks. I don't like when the foreground, because the more I do this, it will probably add some more of the blue back to it, but I want to start with the foreground looking a little bit more, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit more natural. I think Aurora has a tendency to blue things. And I know when you're shooting in low light, like sunset shots like this, you do get that darker, bluer tone, but I'm just not a huge fan of it, but I do think it looks kind of good up in the sky. It's just these rocks that I don't want. So I'm not gonna, something like that will be perfect. But now you can see the difference with the rocks. I feel like they look just a little bit nicer. And obviously I can always come back and adjust that. So now I'm gonna add another layer and really get started on this. So the picture looks pretty good for the most part, actually. So I'll kind of play around with it because they do such a good job tone mapping. You don't really have to go through that sort of basic workflow. I mean, that doesn't really look right. Doesn't look terrible, but doesn't look right. So I'm going to open up the shadows. Maybe I might actually just leave the shadows where they are and kind of leave the highlights. Let the sky, bright sky, something like that. Do I want contrast? Maybe a touch of contrast. I don't normally do anything with saturation or vibrance. I saw a review where someone compared Aurora 2018 to 2019, and they could match the results by bringing the saturation down, like -20, basically saying that Aurora was just oversaturating everything, which I think that's just part of their algorithm. I noticed that color contrast, sometimes you get a nice result. You can kind of make everything pop. little bit of color contrast. I might polarize it just a little bit. And then I am going to crop this, and after I stopped recording that other video, I changed my crop factor, shifting it up to where the sky was top 2/3. I'll show you that, but I'm wondering if I want to maybe just close out the bottom a little bit, maybe leave it. I don't know. I think it looks okay. See, I'm kind of overthinking it now. I don't really see too much that I could be doing. I might try to add a little bit more in here in the water. Let me see here. Let's do where is it? Where's radiance? Maybe image radiance will work. Brighten it up. Maybe something like that, but I'm gonna grab a brush. I pull the opacity down. So this is just something that I've been trying where the sun is, and just brush that in here, kind of brush it around here. Just see if we can't get that to pop a little bit more. Let's look at the mask. I'll just take it off the rocks a little bit here. That looks kind of good. So I didn't do too much to this, and a big reason is because I did pre-touch it in Lightroom. I don't feel like I want to or should have to do too much. I mean, I don't want to take the photo too far. So I look at a photo like this and I think, yeah, it looks okay. I mean, it doesn't look, you know, it's kind of hard to, you know, make a decision on how you feel about it. I feel like you need to let it sit for a little while and then come back to it. But I ask myself, is it flat? So sometimes, you know, is it just boring? Is it not cool enough? So sometimes what I'll do, and I don't always do this, but we're going to add some temperature. Oh, I forgot to add saturation. Add a little bit of saturation, some HDR clarity. We'll add some smart structure. I'm just kind of going through all these crazy little tools they offer here, all these little sliders. And you can see, now I see a lot of photos that look like this. And that I feel like is something that you would see in it. There's parts of it that might look okay, I don't know. So we grab the brush, paint, opacity 50%, and I just kind of come up here and just start painting in. I'm probably going to crop this out, but you never know, it might look okay. So I'm just painting in a little bit of it. I feel like I'm Bob Ross, just painting in a little bit. You know, it's your picture, it's your world. You can do whatever you like. Kind of look at the mask here, and you can see I'm just sporadically hitting spots, and I'm only at 50% opacity, but let's just leave it like that. So here's the question. Is the photo on its own? So this is the file that came in. I took the blue off the rocks. I don't even remember what I did here, just a little bit of tweaking. Added some radiance to this part of the sky. Come on. To this part of the sky and the water to make it pop a little bit. And there might be an okay picture. And then I come up here and I just do a bunch of crazy stuff and just lightly brush it in. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of what I did in Lightroom, so I might just leave it like this. I mean, it might be over the top, it might not be. I'll be curious to hear what you think about it. But now I'm going to do the thing that always kind of frustrates me with Aurora, is that you have to make a decision. I don't want to leave this thing running. This thing, Aurora, chews up, heavy RAM processing. It chews up your RAM. So you can't just leave it running and come back later. I'm still working. I got stuff to do. So I'm just going to hit apply. I mean, you just kind of have to make a decision. So now I'm going to hit apply. And before we get back into this one, I'm going to show you the Lightroom version that I did earlier and kind of see where we stand with that one, what we think about that. So here comes the Aurora file. So just for comparison's sake, I'm going to crop this the same way I cropped the other one. I'm going to do my 16 by 9. And I ended up changing my crop. So if you watch part 1, it was something like this. I moved it up. Okay. So this is Aurora. And this is Lightroom. So when I came back and looked at this, waiting for it to render out, there was something that I just didn't feel like it had enough. And what I did is in the pre-processing, I left it in Adobe Color, but this time I punched it into landscape. And I thought it looked kind of cool. A little bit more cotton candy-ish in the sky, but say we leave it there. Lightroom, Aurora. To be honest, I'm kind of liking the Aurora version better. I put the two up to compare here. Basically, I've got on the left here, one on the left, one on the right. And you can probably tell this on the left is the Aurora version, this is the Lightroom version. And actually, I prefer the Aurora version in here. I think the Aurora version looks a little bit better. Slight differences in the clouds. We got a little bit more orangish hues here versus this is a little bit more magenta. But I think this one looks kind of cool. It doesn't feel too overdone to me. I mean, you may agree or disagree, but what I really like is I like the rocks. I think what I did in Lightroom here worked with this little radial mask to kind of punch up the water. I do think the water looks kind of cool there. I could even do that in Lightroom now with this Aurora file. I might do that. But what's I really think makes the difference for this shot, if this were a shot that I would ever print, would be the rocks. I think Aurora handled this exposure much better. It makes me think that they maybe didn't use the the exposure for the rocks. If you just look down here, I think it preserved the detail. I'm zoomed in. I don't even know what I'm zoomed in. I'm zoomed in like crazy far right now. But it's super different. I mean, it's very looks kind of painty, and the color is very blue, which is something that I was complained about with Aurora, but that little tone curve trick I think really fixed it. I think the rocks look good, interesting enough to kind of draw you in, but they don't overtake the photo. The sky, one thing I did forget to do that I will have to do is I did not denoise the sky. I don't think I denoised it in Lightroom.
All right, real quickly, at this part of the video, if you watched part 1, you'll have seen something that I forgot when I was doing the Aurora part of this. There was some time between it. First of all, that blue tone is most likely coming from the split toning that I completely forgot that I did. I don't normally split tone. I don't know why I did it, but that's where that blue tone is coming from a little bit. I went back in and took off the split toning, and it didn't really make a big difference. I mean, a little bit, but I forgot about that when I was making the second part. I forgot that I did that. I also forgot that I already denoised it in Lightroom. So I do kind of look at the noise in the sky a little bit here. That's why it's not as noisy, why the picture looks a little bit different. Other than that, the only other thing that I did differently that you'll see in the final image is I did go into the Aurora file and I put that same exact radial mask that I did in part 1. It's the same thing. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, it is in part 1. I put a radial mask on sort of the sun and the water where the rocks are. And that's it. Denoise radial mask. I forgot about the split toning. Anything else? That's it. Thanks.
Check out my Instagram. I'm going to post both of these and just see if anyone prefers one. They're a lot more similar than I thought they were going to be. But I'll post these on Instagram and on the Skylum Facebook page. And I appreciate you checking this video out. Please leave your feedback, comments, anything that you saw that you liked or didn't like below. And thanks so much.
Alright, so that's it. If you made it all the way through both of these videos to the end, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. These kind of got a little bit longer than I had intended them to be, but I do want to thank you for watching. Ultimately, I did choose the Aurora version of this photo as my personal favorite, and I'd appreciate if you'd leave a like or a comment, or even if you'd subscribe, maybe even share the video. Just give me your thoughts, sort of feedback on the process. I've been processing photos in these two pieces of software for years, and I'm constantly trying to get better at it and find better results that I'm happier with. So trying to show some of that process to you. So thanks again if you did make it through and watch it. I really do appreciate it. Again, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And also you can check me out on Instagram. A lot of photos that I take are on Instagram, obviously. And I'm going to keep trying to bring more videos like this in the future. Thanks.